artist who has been in this industry for over 15 years. And I know a lot of you will hear her unconventional career choices and be like, wow, how did she get there? But she has not entered this territory without understanding her own strengths and weaknesses. And that's the reason why we have her today at the Learning Lobby. She is a name synonymous with success, and she's done some exceptional work in the industry. Now, at Learning Lobby, we've endeavored in our past editions to have you connected to experts who talk about mental well being and emotional well being extensively. This time, we've got someone who's going to share her real life experience when when she talks about chasing her dreams and following her passion relentlessly despite of the obstacle that may come her way. And it has not been easy for her, it has been anything but easy to keep going as a freelancer, as someone who's not doing something which is conventionally accepted, but also at the same time understanding the emergence of newer professions and newer fields where you can play your talent really well. So happy to have you today on board, Benaifer, and thank you so much for taking out time.
Thank you so much, Vinita, for having me on Practically. It's an amazing, amazing platform. It's such an honor for me to be here. Thank you so much.
So, Benaifer, just wanted to understand that, do you know of the Learning Lobby? Have you seen our sessions before?
Yes, I have seen a few sessions before, and I think, Vinita, to a great extent, the Learning Lobby is pretty much the need of the hour, where everybody is kind of going through so many, right from, I think, a 5-year-old to a 50-year-old. We are all going through so many struggles, be it, going through peer influence, balancing your personal life with your social life, building confidence. I mean, I think the entire pandemic, more than ever before, has kind of really, really crumbled the mental health of so many of us. And I have always been very, very vocal about the entire importance of mental health and, really being mindful about it, be it through maybe an app, be it through a guided meditation, or probably just seeking professional help. So kudos to you guys for doing what you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, today's, so that's the reason why, because today we've selected a topic that I know resonates with you very strongly. It's about, about following your dreams. And to begin with, we'd like to know a little about you, what has your personal journey been like? We do know that today you've established yourself in the content and, in the written and spoken content industry, but what has been your personal experience?
I think, first of all, I always like to believe that this is just the beginning. So, I have been so I'm primarily a writer. I have been writing since 2004, and I was working at a publication house. Then in 2011, I took the extremely brave / rash step of thinking that I'm going to start freelancing. And and I did a voiceover weekend workshop that basically warmed me up to the mic. Only to kind of realize that the mic is my greatest love. But like most industries, especially the entertainment sector and industry, it wasn't a very easy journey. So I would say that while I literally entered the industry in 2011, I really got my break in 2017, which is when I started. Yes, it was a real arduous struggle and long journey, because at that point of time, you did not have the Netflixes and Amazon Primes of the world. The digital space wasn't as booming. Today, irrespective of whether something is on TV or not, you will have a digital version of it. So I think that was not the best time to be in. But I think that is probably what kind of, ascertained the fact that this is what I want to do for life. So today, I think cut to 2022, it's been 11 years since I've been kind of playing the balancing act. Of course, today my career is a lot more around voicing. I still do write for a couple of magazines. I still do develop content for brands and stuff, but I think voicing is my greatest love. I think, I would say the voicing is my heart and writing is my soul. So, I still write a lot of musings and stuff, which I'm sure you've read. on my Instagram page. So yeah, so this is how I kind of, play the balancing act, and I wouldn't change it for anything. The entire
So,
struggle, everything, I wouldn't change it.
picking up from change, and I think that's where your unique self also comes in. Not all of us are multitaskers, but maybe some of us are brilliant at, like taking risks and, just taking the plunge. So, for someone who's really young, like, if you could just, just jog down the memory lane and just sort of take us back to, your understanding of your unique self. When did that set in? When did you first get it, when was your eureka moment when you understood that these are my talents, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses,
Mhm.
and irrespective, I am going to pursue what I'm good at. So how did that set in?
So, Vinita, very honestly, I think as a child, the only thing I was good at was writing. So while I was topping the class in English, I was probably scraping through getting a 2 out of 25 in math and other subjects. But I was very, very, very fortunate to have parents who thought beyond marks. They thought beyond academics, and they just felt that a very all-round development is what is vital for a child. So they just wanted me to kind of go from one level to another. Of course, today's I think right from the first grade, everything is a lot more cutthroat. So I feel very happy about having my childhood in an era probably when competition wasn't so stiff. So writing was something that came very, very naturally to me. But voicing is something that, as cliche as it may sound, there were people who would be like, oh, you sound nice, and things like that. Of course, in retrospect, you realize after being a voice artist for so many years that your voice is probably the smallest part of the deal. The way you modulate, the way you intonate, your entire professional behavior and self is what is, probably such a big part of the entire, voicing game, so to say. So, and in fact, believe it or not, when I was in school, like I've never had a sweet voice, which is very conventionally the Indian kind of voice, like you need to sound sweet, girls need to sound sweet, so to say. And there were a few like school friends who used to make fun of me and stuff, but I think maybe I was so thick skinned that it did not really affect me. So that is what I really would like to tell a lot of the kids and youngsters of today, the adolescents and stuff, that it's sometimes just so important to be driven towards what you want to do and not let these pure influences and pressures and comments really kind of bring you down. It's easier said than done, but I think it is so important to be mindful, and which is where I think platforms like Practically and the Learning Lobby come in. It really kind of gives you a check. It really is like your best friend, like a guardian, like a parent who's constantly watching over you. So yeah, yeah. So I wouldn't say that, especially voicing, wasn't a very it wasn't a very natural or normal option that came to me. But I think, like when you're really destined to do something, you attract those kind of energies. So way back in like 2010, 11, I ended up meeting people who'd kind of done some voicing workshops and stuff, and they happened to tell me about it, which is why I was like, okay, let me pursue this, let me just try it out. I mean, the only way to know whether something is going to work out or not is giving it a shot. Worst case, it would not work out, but at least you're not going to kind of have the regret that only if I had kind of, thought of pursuing it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so true. But then it's not easy, right? Like it's just, I know it's extremely dreamy to follow your destiny or to follow what you're good at. But at times when what you're good at is running contradictory to what is accepted easily, you're always at crossroads. And I think that's when it's so important to understand that why are you chasing, your dream and your passion, and to keep reminding yourself that it could result into either success or failure. You just can't be you just can't let yourself get so lost in that moment that you lose sight of what lies ahead. But for you personally, I'd like to understand that, how has it been for you? Like, what was your journey of chasing your dream, and how did you develop perseverance and resilience when things did not turn out the way you expected them to?
So I would say, Vinita, in a nutshell, my journey, the three P's that have played a very important role in my journey, especially the voicing journey, are patience, perseverance, and a whole lot of passion. So I've kept saying that, it did not come easily to me and stuff, and the entire struggle of getting projects. Even today, I'm not able to crack 10 out of 10 projects that I'm approached for, or auditions that I kind of go to and stuff. And I think I really feel very happy that that I'm so upset about not cracking it the way I was probably way back in 2011. I still feel that level of, dejection. And I'm just happy that I've not gotten complacent enough, because I think it's so important to never just get so confident or complacent about the fact that, oh, you've kind of achieved it all. So, yeah, definitely the three P's. But regarding perseverance, I think when you decide to become a freelancer, it's an invisible unsigned contract that you're getting into, which is unpredictability. Because be it as a media professional, as an artist, or probably any other industry, no 2 days are going to be the same in terms of your schedule, in terms of the money that comes in terms of the projects you're working on. So obviously, there have been absolute low phases also, as as recent as 2 years, where I was really out of work. But I think the key lies in just hustling. You just do not kind of give up, you just keep on hustling and stuff. And at the same time, you also self introspect. So that is a time when you really have no work, and that is a time when you can really sit and think about that: have I become arrogant, have I become rude, am I doing something that's probably beyond my voice, that's about my attitude, that is not probably like kind of making a client a repeat client. So I think it is so important to constantly be checking yourself, and just being really mindful. Like I said earlier, it's so much beyond your voice. It's about your language, it's about your intonations, modulations, and most importantly, your work ethics. So something as simple as like turning up late for a recording, you know, is something that's very unprofessional. Of course, we all have these one of times when things do happen. We stay in a city like Bombay where traffic is extremely unpredictable. But for that to be a 1 out of 10 instance and not like a repeated thing, because like I always say that there may be an artist A and an artist B. An artist A may have a great voice but is really rude, arrogant, and an artist B who has a decent enough voice but has an excellent professional attitude. I think what will make a client repeat the artist is going to be the artist B, because of the way he or she kind of works.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. I think this is something that we all miss out, right? We just we play so big on our talents, we just forget that, like the good old cliche, that talent doesn't succeed where hard work takes over. So I think
Yeah,
it's always a
absolutely.
mix of both, a very healthy mix of both. Okay, so coming to the next question, I know you spoke about your school life and you mentioned that how when you were a baby you had a slightly more coarser voice, but I just wanted to understand that did you ever felt the need to have a platform where you could learn by yourself? Did you ever feel that like you know just if it was just possible for you to have say like your own personal mentor, not just, which is not limited to just the classroom alone, where you just come back home and you can sit and you can practice something, maybe learn something about your voice, maybe learn something about other subjects. Did you ever feel the need that we didn't have that kind of exposure and experience back in our days?
Oh, definitely. Like back in our days, I mean, forget the exposure, Vinita. Like I think like probably 15 or 20 years ago, voiceovers wasn't even a recognized profession. Even though you had greats like Mr. Amin Sayani and Harish Bhimani, etc., doing so much radio work, there wasn't really like a professional designation attached to it. Like even today, there's so many people who are like, okay, you do voiceovers, but apart from that, what do you do? Because they think it's not a full-time profession, and it is an absolute full-time profession. Of course, you could be doing something else with it, like act or write or whatever, but it is not something that you'll do just by the way. So it's very, very important, I think, for even the ones who are trying to pursue this industry. um yes, I really, really wish that, from childhood itself, there would have been platforms and ways that kind of really helped you recognize your voice, like I would say literally and metaphorically. But yeah, I think, like, I was very, very fortunate to be in a school that really emphasized a lot on elocution, drama, things like that. So I just feel very, very happy about that, because, like we discussed, it was not an era when the digital space even existed. Forget it was big. I mean, I've studied computers on those Dabba computers, those MS DOS is where I have kind of trained in computers in school and stuff. So yeah, but I think it's got its pros and cons, if you ask me. It kind of really, the fact that the digital space wasn't this big and booming, it really kind of, allowed kids to go down and play, to kind of really, really experience childhood, which I know I may sound really old when I say this, which in a great way is not being experienced today. So everything has its pros and cons. And yeah, I think today's kids are very, very blessed to be, like, like they are not, they're native to technology. They are not like the immigrants, they're native to technology. While our generation, at least my generation, we were like the immigrants. Yeah. So,
But do you think tech has revolutionized how, like, of course, there are sports and everything that are coming. I mean, that's always there. But do you think tech and digitization have sort of empowered the youth today? Because there was a time when people who did not have access to schools, or, like, for instance, I wanted to do a course, but the college was like really far and I couldn't study from home because there was nothing on the internet back then. So do you think, like, having a platform or technology has helped people develop, I wouldn't say bigger interest, but say maybe wider dreams, because the exposure is.
most definitely. Most definitely, like, as cliche as it may sound, it has got the world closer. It has got, and I would say, like, I can't imagine life during the during the pandemic era without, the digital space being this big and booming. Like, I know, so I do a lot of e-learning work and a lot of children's content and stuff, as a voice artist, wherein I kind of, narrate a lot of kids stories, a lot of, like, curriculum, etc. And I know the amount that the kids have benefited because everything was online. Everything was online. So just imagine, like, if probably COVID had happened like 30 years ago, there would have been 2 years of no school at all. And I can't imagine the kind of, like, literally, like, the kind of, the lull, the brain lull that would have hit the children, because there's just so much that a parent can entertain or
Exactly.
can teach a child, because they have their own responsibilities. And, like, I think the biggest plus of digitization is that, it's constantly updating. It's not just like, it's not stagnant. So because of that, I think, like I said, I can't imagine life without, especially in the current era and in the current COVID and pandemic times, without the digital space. I think it's been a huge blessing. It's been a huge, huge blessing, because I mean, it's like, I think every child would have been 2 years behind in his or her life if it weren't for online schooling, if it weren't for, e-learning modules and things like that.
Makes sense. I think also, also the freedom to explore, right? Like, if you want to do something, there's a course that you want to pick up, you have your vacations going on, and, like, something is, uh, you just don't want to while away your time. You want to
Hmm.
play. You want to also balance your activities also at the same time. I think
Hmm.
especially around these times, there is so much more that a child can do. I think, like you rightly said, since Gen Z or Gen Z plus is more native, like they understand the Internet of Things better than we do, or
Yes.
are in a lot of ways better than, because right now I feel like this knowledge is very concentrated in the hands of few, and a lot of us can get away saying that, okay, sorry, I'm tech challenged. I don't see them ever making this statement. I think for them it'll always be that this is as good as my online and offline boundaries are sort of blurred. But also at the
Hmm.
same time, I feel like there is so much that is going to come their way because of this kind of exposure. It'll be sort of even more important for them to understand, what their talents are. And
Yes.
if I had to ask you, if I had to just ask you a question that say maybe 5 years or 10 years down the line, how would you suggest kids who are exposed to so many things and who have access to so many different career options, what are three essentials that they must always keep in mind when they're choosing a career, when they're opting for a goal, or when they are maybe just developing an interest into something? How is it that you, apart from instinctively what you're good at, you know
Mhm.
practically, what is it that you would say a child should always keep in mind?
Mhm. I think first of all, it's so important to not just, get bogged down by peer pressure that, my best friend is doing this. I understand we all have been through that, I want to basically pursue what my best friend is pursuing. But to think of it, I mean, your friendship could last forever, but there will be a point in your life when you are going to walk your individual paths. So I think it is so, so, so important to not kind of, get bogged down by peer influence, peer pressure, peer choices, and also probably what just the entire world is pursuing. Because that may not be your strength. It's completely, completely possible that what may be the in thing, what may be the cool quotient career at the time, may not be your greatest strength. So it is, I think, so important to tap into your individual self and really know that, do I really enjoy this? Do I really love this? Which is what, in fact, Vinita, in fact, there are a lot of like kids who kind of connect with me and they're like, we want to pursue voicing as a career. And I always tell them that take baby steps, do a workshop that will kind of warm you up to the mic, but do not spend thousands and lakhs on it, because you don't know whether this is going to be your career. You don't know whether you're going to enjoy it. Because, one thing that's very, very essential for voicing is that, you need to enjoy reading.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, like
Absolutely.
especially when you're working on e-learning projects, audiobooks, etc., you need to be a reader in your personal space, because that is what extends to a professional to your professional world as well. So yeah, be really mindful. Don't get influenced. Don't give up too soon. If you really figure that this is what I want to do, then do not give up too soon, because I can speak for my industry and say that there's a lot of work that's happening, but still the supplies to demand ratio is still a little skewed. So still, while there's a lot of work in the market, the amount of people trying to pursue it is even more. So not
Wow.
everybody is going to get every project, sort of a thing. So you have to hang in there. Yeah, and the third thing I would say is that, once you've probably been able to kind of, get around or get a little success, don't be complacent. I think it's so important for everybody, be it a 20-year-old or a 70-year-old veteran, to always be a student.
Yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
yeah, because once you kind of stop learning, I think that is the day your journey comes to an end, sort of a thing, So I think it's so important to always be humble, always be modest. And, and I think like as you keep climbing the ladder of success in your professional, journey, in your professional journey, it is very, very likely that you may just get complacent. You may just get arrogant. But that is when, you need to even doubly kind of be conscious about the fact that I'm doing something wrong, because you never know when you just fall on your stubby nose and, things may just kind of, just turn around. So
I wanted to ask you, what do you think, what are two things that you should be always aware of, because you just mentioned that you tend to grow arrogant or complacent, or you tend to take things for granted as you're getting settled into a career, or you've been around for some number of years now, for a certain number of years. So can you point out the dream killers? What are dream killers?
I think the biggest dream killer would be the fact that you stop dreaming about it. And I don't just mean the success. Like, still kind of, walking into a studio after maybe 10 years or 15 years of voicing and still thinking, this is my first project, kind of a thing, entering a studio with that kind of excitement and enthusiasm. And if you're not feeling it, then that's definitely like a dream killer, because somewhere you have lost the entire drive that you're supposed to feel. So yeah, so that is a huge dream killer, because I mean, forget person B. I think what's most important is that you need to be in love with what you're doing. And there's so many people who tell me that, when I feel very, very fortunate to be doing, because I think anybody who's meeting me for the first time within 10 minutes of a conversation knows I'm borderline obsessed with what I do.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
so I think, like, still being so excited, even like there are times when we have 4 or 5 recordings in a day, and being as excited for your fourth recording as you were early in the morning for the first one. I think that is so, so, so important. And the other dream killer for me is, like, I don't know, I keep coming back to, like, just like being very, very mindful and watchful of your own attitude. Yeah, like I still remember one of our, like, really, really good voice artists had once said that, I think, after probably being around for so many years, we just know how to voice a particular script, kind of a thing, and while the agency guys, the writers, etc., who worked on this particular script, on this particular project for months on end, when they want to give you a briefing, sometimes you're like, what the hell, man, I know what I'm doing. But to again kind of going back to being a student and listening to what vision he or she has, and what they want to get through your voice, is so important, because I think sometimes we really, really don't understand, and we undermine the importance of what and how much your voice can convey. It can sometimes completely, with due respect, lift up the entire feel of a particular ad or particular audiovisual film or whatever. It's literally the heart of a project. So it's you have a huge responsibility, but at the same time, don't be arrogant about it.
So if you are, apart from say voiceover, there are so many other unconventional career paths that are, that are trending today, or that are becoming popular choices. Um, what would you suggest? Like, if I have to ask you that, if you are pursuing a vocation which is not related to a direct degree, how
Mhm.
is the best way to go about with it? Like, how did you research, talking to people? Were you always very inquisitive, or did you just leave it to luck and you went with the flow, or you got an opportunity and you grabbed it?
Mm, So I think it was a little of all of it, and I think the most important being that my level of interest in it. Your personal level of interest is most important, because it could be a very conventionally, you know, well-paying career, and something that really kind of helps you kind of climb up the ladder and things like that. But if you're not convinced about it, I think the entire it's in vain to kind of pursue that further. But having said that, like, try it out, kind of a thing. Do your research, like, I think the entire digitization space more than ever before, very honestly, Vinita, like, I have been always somebody who loves to go to studios and record and loves the entire interaction with a sound engineer. But during the pandemic, I had to opt for a home mic. And my biggest fear was like, oh my God, how am I going to understand the software that comes with it? Because I'm technologically challenged and technically challenged. But the fact that, I was like, I have to do it. Because literally sometimes, when push comes to shove, you have to, just upgrade yourself. You have to just do what you're not going to be otherwise comfortable with. So to really challenge yourself once in a while is so important. And of course, today I would say like 90% of my work is through my home setup. So it took a COVID and it took a pandemic for me to kind of, realize that I need a home setup, which is something that's very common internationally. It's not very common in India. But yeah, like I think, sometimes your greatest limitations are set by yourself. Like I was the one who kept thinking, no, I'll not be able to kind of, use a sound and audio software and things like that. But I have been doing it for the last 2+ years now, and it's not been that bad.
That's amazing. I think this is something that we'll take back today. Like that's so, if I have to summarize, three things that you have to always when you are in pursuit of anything. And I think dreams, it sounds like a big, 4 or 5 letter word, but it basically could be anything. Like, your dream could be maybe say scoring the best in class. Your dream could be becoming a voiceover artist. Your dream could be traveling the world. Your dream could be anything. I think what is important is to be aware. When the opportunity presents itself, you should at least in your spare time work on those skills or work on yourself, or at least remain true to yourself. There's a reason why you're dreaming of a certain thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you inherently were passionate about it. Maybe you're fortunate enough to receive exposure to it. Maybe it just came your way. Maybe it struck you. Maybe somewhere within you, you just knew you have to do something.
Yeah.
So I think there are three things that you always keep within you is when the opportunity presents itself, be prepared to just grab it rather than waiting and then preparing yourself. You may either succeed or fail. I think the next thing is to always, be humble and be willing to learn, because you're going to meet people who are not as seasoned as you are, or maybe you'll meet people who are very seasoned, and you may get intimidated in both the situations. And it'll be so important to keep your head on your shoulders at all times and be very receptive to feedback and be very receptive to growth and different styles of working or different styles of pursuing the same thing that you would do.
Yeah.
And I think the third thing, which I really love that you shared, is that, with everything, it's so important to upgrade yourself. And this is especially for children and educators and parents, that please don't take it for granted that just because they're born in the internet world, they're aware of everything. There are so many things that are happening. Just give them the right tools and give them the means to upgrade themselves physically, virtually, like, to also keep on growing, keep on learning, and learn by doing. Like if you really want to learn something rather than just, using the rote way, try and be as practical as possible so that it kind of like seeps into your system, especially with
Absolutely.
professions or with activities that require you to be a little more active and that need that little bit of strength and resilience at your end. So
Absolutely.
this is definitely a key takeaway from today. And I have a very nice question from one of the kids, that that they feel sometimes that dreams are so overwhelming, because sometimes they feel that they may have a certain dream and somebody else has achieved it faster than them. So it just hurts, because then they feel like they're following the herd, and they're not unique anymore because they're doing what the
Yes.
best friend has done before
Yes.
them. So
Yes. Yes. So, first of all, thank you for the question. I think that this question is true at any age for any of us, who's pursuing a career, because there's never going to be like a constant upward, journey, so to say. But I think again, like, really, really, gets me back to the same kind of explanation, that is this dream your dream? Because you may not have the aptitude, you may not have the skills for it, which is perfectly fine, because I think nobody in this world knows everything. But I think everybody in this world knows something or the other. They're skilled and they're
absolutely.
blessed with something or the other. So to really, really kind of tap into what is your special talent is very, very important. And I know it's very easy. It's a lot easier said than done. But no two people have the same journey. You know, like, probably if you really feel that, yes, this is my area of expertise, this is my area of love, I want to pursue it. But then just kind of see how you are, probably what your shortcomings could be, You know, like I'll tell you honestly, like Vanita, there's so many, aspiring voice artists who are great at Hindi and Marathi and Gujarati, but they want to keep pursuing English. No harm in that. But my point is that, are you just wanting to pursue English because it's the cool quotient that is attached to the language, wherein you're actually being ashamed of your mother tongue? I always tell people, please don't be ashamed of your mother tongue. Like really, like regional content in a way is big and booming in the country. So, like, like nothing is small, nothing is awkward to pursue. Just see what your strengths are. And if you feel that somewhere there is a weakness, try to slowly and steadily convert it into a strength, but just for yourself, not for the world. Like, in fact, like even when you were telling me about your key takers, I think another thing that I really want to, I may sound like a granny when I say this, but I think, it is so important that your goal should not just be name and fame and success. Your bigger goal should be really, really pursuing your dream, pursuing that unique talent that you have, and success will follow. But
Mm.
if your first aim is that I want to be successful, irrespective of what, but my greatest aim is that I want to be successful. I think that's a very, like, backdoor reverse kind of a journey that you are treading somewhere.
Fair enough. Fair enough. A very, I think something that everyone will take back today. It's like food for thought.
Vinita, I would love to hear from you about, what are the special courses and stuff, because the Practically and Learning Lobby has.
So, Learning Lobby is an initiative. It's an individual of the Practically app. This is an initiative that we create, a platform that we created specially for after doing a study where educators and parents came forth and they said that, they're extremely worried about their children's well-being. And they feel like there are not many platforms to guide them through it. So, it could be the smallest thing from career choices to sleep pattern to stress to so many things that come their way from time to time, right? And that's why we launched this monthly initiative where we have people like you who come and share their experience. And, it's inspiring to hear different voices from different parts of the world who've been through so many things. And, each one is extremely unique and extremely inspiring in their own way. And Practically app is, so we are an immersive learning app. And the reason why this app was launched was because, again, there were many man years of research that went into understanding that it's not easy for children to just keep on retaining what they study via rote learning method, especially like you mentioned, you just, maths is something that you just navigated through. And it's not supposed to be that tough. It's just, for what we understood here was that subjects are a way of life. They're not supposed to prove your competency in anything. Like you need numbers when you grow up in life. You need science when you grow up in life. You need technology today. So STEM became our core because a lot of students, we understood fear STEM despite of having, and they don't realize that they do have an aptitude for it. So we created a place where they could come and they could do this, by maybe scanning features around them and seeing what those features are called, or just playing with, like playing within the app and understanding what are different 3D models and quiz and gamification, which sort of keeps them interested because they are full of that kind of energy, right? Where they want to learn and soak in as much as they can at any given point. And later we, as we progressed, we started understanding that there are so many things that there are so many dynamics involved in keeping a child interested, and today they want to learn so many more things. So what if we gathered experts and, outside of their school hours or their school months, when they have a vacation, we curate something which allows them, which is like a mix of technical and creativity. So, they have the best of both worlds. So right from learning about robotics to game development or app development, or music or even photography, how can we just compile it together? So for their co-curriculum, we came up with a summer workshop, which is going to start from 25th April.
Wow.
The idea is that a child can do one or all, but it's completely up to them to, just explore. And we've
Yes.
picked up the best of subject matter experts to sort of guide them journey
Wow.
where if they want to learn something about photography, whether it's the app that is right, how do you edit right, and just to give them a healthy insight on what this world looks like, or if they want to learn music, and again, not get tied down by smaller things like, oh, do I have a singing voice or no? And I know a lot of kids are, but they don't understand that music is not just about performance, it's about relaxing, and it's also like you're exercising your vocal cords, you are making yourself more confident, and lyrics are beautiful. Like I think lyrics are your first step
Absolutely.
to retain things. So that was the whole idea. Or if they want to develop apps, and by that I don't mean that they just have to go all out there. It's about if they have an idea and they want to give it expression
Mm.
and without getting pressurized about it. So if they look at the more creative side of technology also. So to not do not pitch them against each other, but to give each one of them a very simple understanding of what things are and what things aren't, and like do not get intimidated by things just because you're hearing about it for the first time. So that's
Absolutely.
why
Wow.
co-curricular. So we've sort of done a lot of research in understanding how a child responds to different learning methods and different teaching methods, and that's the reason why we put something like this together. So um, in fact, I wanted to ask you that, this is what I felt, that even in our summer vacation, we used to have courses and everything, but nothing which was putting everything under one roof, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
something which was economical. And I remember how a lot of people I knew around me could not take up things because they were not affordable. And
Yes.
affordability back in the day played a very huge role. And
Very
like,
huge.
and when only privileged few had an option to go ahead and sort of realize their dreams. I feel this time it's not the case, and that's what we've, especially here, this is what we've been trying to do, and trying to put together things from that perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think sometimes it's so important to start young, be it like a language skill or some, like kind of, taking baby steps in a particular aptitude area. But like you correctly said, not be getting pressurized, because I think it's so important to be gentle and kind to yourself. And I think, like, that is where, like, the parents and the teachers and the adults come in, and I
Absolutely.
think we're going back to where we started, that I always say that I was very, very blessed to kind of, be around an atmosphere, in an atmosphere wherein, it did not just drive me crazy. And of course, like right now, the competition it's incomparable as to what it was way back then. But still, competition in its own way, varying degree, has always existed. How much of it do you feed is what is a very individual thing.
So just one more thing, like I just wanted to ask you, is there something that you'd like to leave behind for educators, for students, for parents? And I know everyone today wants to just be ahead of the game, or ahead of the race, but something that you just like to, because you've worked with children, you worked with children's content, children's stories, children's curriculum, and you understand the space in and out, and you've been a writer yourself, you've been an observer yourself. So what
So
do you
I would
think?
like to say, like, very interestingly, I think children are two extremes. They are like, they're like raw clay. You kind of mold them the way you want to, but at the same time, you cannot underestimate and undermine their level of intelligence. So, like this entire thing, like, and especially today's kids are really smart. So I would say, like, what we were at maybe 10 and 15, today's kids are at 6 and 7. There's a huge, I think, generation, growth that has happened over the years, wherein, kids are like really, they're born smart. So I think it's so important for teachers, educators, parents to kind of, play the balancing act, not pressurize the child, but but at the same time, not really think that, he or she is a child and, they do not have the aptitude to understand what you're trying to tell them or the way they're behaving. Like they always say that, a child kind of, more than what you tell them, they pick up from what they see. So to kind of, really, really being in check of your behavior, it's so, so important because, that is kind of going to make or break and not pressurize a child beyond a point because I think childhood comes in your life just once. I think, like, hands down, they're the most beautiful years of your life. So you don't want to kind of, I like definitely, like making learning enjoyable, not making it a task, not making it like, oh my God, now I have to do this sort of a thing. But, being really, getting them really excited about it is what is so, so crucial. And that is where, the art and the skill of the adult comes in whatever form they may be, the parent, teacher, guardian, educator, whatever. You're on mute, Vinita.
Thank you so much, Benaifer. I think this was really helpful.
Thank
There
you
are
so
so
much.
many children out there who are going to benefit from your words today. There are so many parents out there. There's so many educators out there who will. I'm pretty sure there's something they're going to take back for sure. So
Thank you so
it was a
much.
pleasure having you, and all the very best.
It
So
was
we
so
do
nice
have
speaking with you. Yeah.
So we do have, for those who could not ask us a lot of questions and you want to just go back and watch this video again and ponder over a few pointers, we do have a space for you guys also. You can send in your questions at learninglobby at practically.com, sorry. And we'll try our best to get back to you. We'll connect with Benaifer, we'll get you the solutions and the answers,
Yes.
and we'll come back to you. So we may bother you a little more, Benaifer.
I would love that. I mean, like, I'm just the happiest when somebody wants to pursue my career or something related, because I think the more, the merrier. It's not
Wow.
competition. I think we all can kind of thrive and survive together.
That's amazing. I think this is extremely well. I think it's a brilliant way to end the day and kind of end the week for a lot of people. So thank you so much, Benaifer.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much.
So many take backs from here. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye to everyone who was watching. Bye.